Welcome to JackHorny.com show.
Hi there, I'm going to talk about the BBC, the equality pay victory with the BBC, and I'll probably pronounce the name wrong, Samira Ahmed. Now, apparently the law's quite straightforward, although I don't think it's fit for purpose, and I'll explain why. The law states something on the grounds, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something on the grounds of if a male or female does the same job of somebody of the opposite sex, then they should be paid the same. So a male should be paid the same as a female and vice versa. However, I believe my understanding is you can't apply it for the same sex. So a male can't be paid the same as another male. They can't argue that case, and a female can't argue the same as another female. Now, this is why it becomes a bit, in that regards, a bit silly as the law. Anyway, yeah, if you think about that, it doesn't make sense that. Now, the apparently the BBC didn't put forward a very good argument by the sounds of it. They said something about she wasn't paid as much as Jeremy Vine because Jeremy Vine had the glint in his eye or something. Apparently the contract was done 10 years ago. Now, there was, apparently from what I've heard, the BBC could have had a case because the suggestion was she was actually paid the same as a male who she took over from. So there wasn't apparently any difference there. And I think the radio, I think it's a TV show she does or something on BBC News, and apparently the viewership's like 1,000 per episode. I mean, that's what I heard. I mean, it can't be that low. I mean, if it is, that's why bother. I mean, that's no views at all. It's a waste of time. Anyway, and I think Jeremy Vine gets a lot more for his show. So it becomes, now for me, this is one of them cases where I think it does more harm for women in general than it does. It's something you see a lot of women will go, "Oh, this is good," ooh, without thinking about it. Now, to me, this will be a bit like where women take, where you get sort of senior women in senior roles. So you'll get somebody in sort of a senior position in a legal firm, or say senior boss in a firm, say the CEO or whatever the equivalent is, where they feel that they should have been promoted. Because they simply feel it, and they argue. Then they take the employee to court. Sorry, the dog's being a pain in the background. Then they take the employee to court, and often, in truth, they probably pay out of court because they don't want the publicity. And the reality is, a lot of people won't take on women in senior roles because of this. You'll have, I mean, some people openly state this, and it's other women. I mean, it's not uncommon for other women in senior who say run a business to say we just don't take women on because the reality is it's going to cost me everything if they take me to court. So you do have it where you have people who aren't particularly that good, but because they think they deserve to be promoted above somebody else, then they take them to court. And I suspect what will happen, sorry, there's the cat in the background as well. I suspect with this ruling, although I mean, apparently the BBC having to pay out $3 million to shut everyone up to stop people going to court, but the reality is that this will be like a zigzag system if you're smart. The basis could be as simple. Sorry, I'm just going to lift the cat up. Ooh, here we go. Ooh. Okay, she's wanting to be fed again. Greedy cow. what you'll get is you'll have people putting in claims left, right, centre. So what you probably have is, say, somebody in the BBC, some, one of these local stations that I don't know if anyone even bothers listening to. They could claim they're not getting paid the same as, say, somebody on Radio 1 who's on, say, I don't know, I think they get a vast fortune. Because they'll argue they're doing the same job, and plus they'll want back pay. But obviously they'll have to be the opposite sex. So if somebody's, if you're basically on a radio station in the middle of nowhere getting no listeners to your BBC local station, and you're male or female, what you need to do is, clearly by the sounds of it, claim that you're doing the same job as a top presenter pulling in millions on Radio 1, say, or one of the other major channels. So you've got Radio 1, 2, 3 and 4, but I'd imagine Radio 1 and possibly Radio 4 gets the most viewers. But because Radio 1's similar to pop stations, and they're similar to, I'd say similar to local radio stations, the BBC's, I think you could actually have a case that you're saying you're doing like for like. And let's face it, you probably, by the sounds of it, BBC will just pay you off to avoid problems rather than going to court. I mean, I think, I suspect, I mean, I was reading that other people lining up to do this. So, I mean, obviously this is taxpayers' money, and it's another nail in the coffin for the BBC. So, I mean, on that side of things, I'm not bothered. I mean, if people want to carry on paying the licence fee just to pay off people who try to claim as much money as they can in earnings, that's up to them. I mean, I'd avoid paying the licence fee completely. I mean, it says on the Daily Mail they paid out 3 million. Well, that's 3 million that should have gone into programmes. How many hundreds of, I mean, I don't know what the licence fee is. It's some ridiculous fee. I think it's over £100 now, but let's round it up to £100. It takes a lot of £100 to get to the 3 million, doesn't it, folks? So all those people that paid this licence fee for TV, which is what they're being told it's for, it's just to pay for more wages. It's to give people a nice lifestyle. So when all these old people are struggling to get by, and then they can turn the TV on and they can read about some nice rich celebrity, because we're always doing that. Sorry, the dog's being a pain in the background. When they're boasting about the £1 million mansions they're living in, well, that's why. I mean, it's just, it's a bit of a joke. But the problem there is, obviously, I mean, I'm not bothered about the BBC, but what I suspect will happen is commercial stations, if they've got any sense now, will never employ a woman, because then you don't have to worry about this act. You just employ all males, and that's it. It saves the problem. You don't employ anyone else. All males, and probably all white, to save a lot of problems, and then you're okay. Now it makes perfectly logical sense. I mean, this is the BBC trying to be all politically correct, and by doing so, they've almost landed themselves in this mess. You see, the problem is that this act doesn't really take into account the entertainment business. And the entertainment business does have a factor in it that it's not like the other jobs, where it's not based on what you're doing. It's based on, do you have like the factor to pull in an audience? Because very few people do. I mean, the lady who took this case, she's a nice person, but she's not going to pull in the audience Jeremy Vine is, because there's very few people like Jeremy Vine who can pull that audience in. That's why Channel 5 took him on, because they can pull in the audience. And there's very few people who could. I mean, you can actually go through probably everyone on the BBC And I'd imagine Gem Vine's probably one of the topmost if you're going to pull in an audience. I don't think there's anyone else who could. And so it becomes. So this victory is a bizarre victory. I mean, I think it'll create problems for the BBC, obviously, because they won't have the budget to. I would have thought not. I mean, they'll end up having to pay everyone equal, I presume, even if they're not that good, which it'll make it difficult for people to. The other side of things like that is, I'd presume, it make things difficult for people to be encouraged to be better. You don't really need to be good and worry about bringing an audience. So why bother? If you're going to get paid the same as somebody who's not bringing in anybody, does it matter as much? But no, it's. I don't think this is. Although I think a lot of women, well, I'll say it's women because it's usually them who'll be waving the flag over this, who are thinking this is a marvellous news. I don't think it will be. I think it'll do the same damage in the long run, especially for the networks. It might be difficult for the BBC, but for a lot of networks who are smaller, it'll be beneficial for them to be male only now. So we'll have to see. I mean, obviously the effect won't be instant, but I suspect that other industries, especially the entertainment industries, may be now considering, will have to consider this more. And I'd imagine the logic would be, let's just exclude women. A bit like a lot of businesses do. I mean, as I say, one of the reasons there's less women in sort of the top roles is because you just won't risk it. I mean, that would be the advice you'd give to any firm these days is forget the law, forget equality, just take males on who are white, straight, and then you don't have to worry. Because if you take them on, they can't really take it to court as easily. They won't argue it, the case. While if you take a woman on who turns out not that good, and so the trouble is, everybody thinks in the head they're the best. Just because you think you're the best doesn't mean that you are. And when and a lot of people do think who aren't that good, sit there and go, oh well, I'm better than them, even if they might not be. Sorry, the dog's driving me nuts in the background. And therefore people are in the heads, or maybe they know they're not that good, but they just want to get more money. You see, for the short term, it works for those few who can go to court, but it destroys the chances of everyone else. It's illogical for any firm to take on a woman on a high-powered job. I mean, if you was a shareholder, you'd really deep down not, even if you're a woman. I think I always remember listening to an interview from a woman who was top, and she said, I forget what the firm was. She admitted it. She said, we used to take on women because we thought it was the right thing to do. I was supportive of women, and I was a feminist. And then somebody took me to court who wasn't very good because she claimed that she was she thought she should have had the promotion. In fact, we didn't. She was incompetent, and we found it hard to get rid of her because we knew we'd be sued, and we just didn't want to give her a promotion because the person who gave it to was a lot better. But because she felt she deserved it, and because she claimed that it was because she was female, and because it was a male who got the promotion, she took us to court for a lot of money. It was serious money, and in fact, it apparently nearly bankrupted the firm. And ever since then, she went, no way. She said, I can't afford to lose my house for principle. Yes, it's very nice, she said, to take on people of both sexes equally, but when it comes down to it, I'm not going to risk losing my own home. Something that she's spent years building up, business she's built up. I mean, this was she experienced the possibility of her children being homeless, while this other person would have been extremely well off. So yeah, these things I don't think do benefit women in the long run, but we'll see. I mean, when I heard this, I'm not blaming the woman who took the BBC to court. She was quite right to do it. The law states this. I mean, but the trouble is the law isn't correct in this regard. So it's going to be damaging. But we'll see. I mean, it'd be interesting because I suspect. Well, clearly the BBC's had to pay out $3 million. That's to those who were taking the BBC to court, but I suspect others will. Because if you're smart, you'll just do this bouncing effect. You'll find somebody of the opposite sex who's doing a job, radio presenting or TV presenting role that's clearly, you could argue, is the same. So if you can find somebody who's on a vast wage presenting a TV show while your TV show may be getting no views at all, but and because of that, they might have just taken you on just for experience or something. You could easily claim the top end salary. Now, for a lot of TV private ones, not everyone makes their own shows. I mean, that's the other way you get round it. You just you never make your own shows. You make sure you purchase the shows from little firms, and then it's their problem at the end of the day. Normally what you'd do is you'd have a firm that makes only one or two shows, so there won't be a comparison, because you can't compare one show. If you've only doing one show, there won't be the possibility to compare to other shows. But unfortunately the BBC it's got all its radio shows and a lot of live broadcasts, and you can see there's a lot of people you could bounce this backwards and forwards to and claim back pay. Because by the sounds of it, the law will back them up. That's the way it sounds. I mean, I think by the sounds of it, it was a black and white law. It was straightforward. There was no complications about it. So even though logically speaking, everyone can see person A is more popular than person B, it's not based on the popularity of the views of that show. This is based purely on, you go in, sit in front of a TV camera and present, and that's basically it. So you could argue this quite simply, and at the end of the day, it might be cheaper for BBC to pay you off regardless anyway, even if you might not win. It might not, by the sounds of it. I mean, if the BBC's paid out $3 million, clearly they don't want to keep going to court, because by the sounds of it, that even in their mind, the lawyers must have told them that they've less than chance of winning. Anyway, that's just my view, folks.